Hey guys, I'm Grestar, and how about we watch a death battle? Amy Rose versus Ramona Flowers. Of course, make sure to click here to go see the official release first, like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and then come back here and we'll watch it together. This shirt is an example of why you should fold your laundry as soon as you're done with it, and why you should iron your clothes, but I do neither of those things. Huzzah! And before I forget, I'd like to give a shout out to Mathan Sivanason. Thank you, Mathan, for donating to me on Patreon. I totally did not forget to record this while I was sitting down initially. And yes, your donations are really appreciated. No, I will not try to sing Amy Rose's theme song. I don't even know what it is aside from the little beginning part. Anyway, yes, this death battle. Why am I wearing these? This death battle is, between Amy Rose from Sonic the Hedgehog and Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Now, I've seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World some years ago, and admittedly, I don't remember her actually doing much. Like, I remember which character she was, thankfully. Unless I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. And I just don't remember her character doing much. I could be wrong, it's not coming to mind right now. It was a weird movie. Like, I'm not saying it was a bad movie, it was just so quirky and odd. Like, anyway. And then Amy Rose, from Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm gonna say right now, honestly, I think that Amy's going to win. Now, I'm not going to make a final decision until, after I watch the analyses portions, because, a lot can be revealed there. But from what I know of the two universes, okay, like, I know very little about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I know that, there was that movie, but it was also like a video game and a comic book series, or a graphic novel, whatever you want to call it. And, but Amy, from Sonic the Hedgehog also has, several video games and, several, like, comic book iterations. And from what I remember of, like, when Sonic was in Death Battle and when Tails was in Death Battle, the Sonic the Hedgehog universe is freaking crazy in the comics. So, I don't know, like, what would change things for me is if, while the universe was crazy, Amy was not. Like, I don't know how prevalent Amy is in the comics, especially when you get to those, like, really far out kind of ends. So it's hard to judge exactly what she'll be capable of or how resilient she'll be, etc. But I have really nothing to say about Ramona. So just from my initial thoughts, like from what little I do know about at least one of the characters, it seems like Amy is going to win. But yeah, I'm not going to make any decision until I actually watch the death battle. So with that, let's get to watching. And play. Alright. There we go. So, death battle. Amy Rose versus Ramona Flowers.
The old saying goes, behind every great man is a badass woman with a big hammer. Something like that.
I don't know if the hammer's a real thing, but
combatants are exactly that. What could go wrong?
Amy Rose, Sonic the Hedgehog's #1 fan.
Was that from the movie based on the book about the author?
Scott Pilgrim's dreams.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
I did actually forget about that fight against her ex-girlfriend.
Young Amy Rose
that was a thing.
Heard of the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, she became immediately obsessed.
But while most rabid fangirls would stalk him online or build a shrine in their closet, Amy dialed her crazy up to 11.
I guess you could say she was hooked on Sonics?
No, it was funny.
Well, determined to meet her hero face to face, Amy decided that the best option was to learn how to read tarot cards. Of course.
Really?
And the lady at the fair never let me down.
After lots of practice, one reading finally predicted she would meet the blue blur on the mysterious Little Planet.
And she did meet him. Well, after she was kidnapped by the evil Dr. Eggman and used as bait to lure Sonic into a trap. But hey, first impressions aren't everything, right?
God knows that's true.
I love that animation right there so much.
So I forgot my pants on my first day. It happens to us all.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, meeting Sonic wasn't enough for Amy. Despite her young age and inexperience, she made it her personal mission to become a part of his freedom-fighting crew.
So Amy spent some time building a badass skill set to convince her hasty hedgehog hero she'd be a valuable team member.
Okay.
And girlfriend.
It actually wouldn't take long. By running after Sonic, her sheer will and determination let her reach the super speed she needed to chase him down.
So we are going to say she does have that super speed.
Keep in mind, Sonic's casual speed sits at about 765 miles per hour.
That's extra terrifying.
So she was just able to achieve it?
Apparently, she tapped into her innate hedgehog speed gene, which is a thing. Where the hell they got this, I have no
Innate
clue.
hedgehog
have you
speed.
seen real hedgehogs run? They're not all that fast.
Apart from being quick on her feet, Amy
Okay,
can
then.
target specific enemies with the homing attack, charge up speed with the spin dash, and even turn herself invisible.
Right, by concentrating her energy, Amy can somehow cloak her entire body from view.
Okay.
She's obsessive, fast, and can turn herself invisible. It's like the Sonic gods made the ultimate stalker.
Well,
Yes.
she still hasn't learned how to hide her shadow.
That might
Which
be
is
even
odd.
scarier. But what really gives Amy an edge is her signature weapon, the Pico Pico Hammer. God, that's a dumb name.
It's actually based on the Japanese children's toy of the same name.
Yeah, well, this weapon would be totally stupid if it didn't create tornadoes.
That's
yeah.
right, it can create a pink vortex to throw at Amy's enemies. She can also use the Pico Pico Hammer to double jump or spin through the air like a helicopter.
Seeing all this
And
stuff
if she
like in a
loses
row
she
makes
can
it even
somehow
weirder for me.
magically summon a new one out of thin air.
Really think you're moving on too fast from the whole tornado thing, Wiz. Tornadoes!
Yes.
Hammer! Hamnado!
After all was said and done, Amy became good enough to join Sonic's squad, becoming a valuable member of the team.
She's
Okay.
strong enough to match the power of a 25-foot-tall metal machine.
All right.
She dazed the Iron King, a guy who can tank laser fire from an army, and once threw her hammer hundreds of feet into the air to knock Dr. Eggman's ship out of flight.
She
Oh.
survived a one-on-one match against Knuckles where she was crushed by a boulder over twice her size.
And even more impressively, she once wiped out half of an entire robotic invading force all on her own.
She may be powerful, but she still has some growing up to do.
Amy is a tween girl. She's pretty
Yeah.
mature sometimes, rushing into action without thinking.
Like when she was mind-controlled by Justin Bieber.
Justin
Oh no.
Beaver.
That was a
Really?
surreal.
Yep, he's a beaver who mind-controls girls through the power of repetitive and uninspired music.
Jesus.
But the most important thing to take away from all of this is that once Amy Rose sets her mind to something, she will get it done.
Okay.
No matter what.
No matter what. So what if she sets her mind on killing Ramona? Death battle over. I'm
When
sorry, guys.
Ramona
Go home.
Flowers first saw Scott Pilgrim, she was immediately unimpressed.
She just wanted to do her own thing, delivering packages for Amazon Canada. But Scott couldn't get her out of his mind.
Literally in his mind, which is weird.
It's not weird at all. So, it's just you have this really convenient subspace highway running through your head that I like to use. It's like 3 miles in 15 seconds.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, Scott somehow managed to charm her into giving him a chance. But there was just one little, somewhat dangerous catch to it all.
You see,
The
if Scott
X's.
wanted to land his pilgrims at Vagina Rock, he had to battle and defeat Ramona's 7 evil exes. God, screw that. That's way too much work. I don't care how hot she is. Find a new one.
Luckily for Scott, he did not have to fight them all alone, as Ramona
That's right.
isn't your typical damsel in distress.
Yeah, she's a badass. She's strong, tough, and damn good on a pair of rollerblades.
She's also proficient in numerous types of weapons, from mallets to swords, and carries multiple on her person at all times. such
Okay,
as
good
her
to know.
titanium baseball bat.
And her giant hammer. It might look plain to you, but when Ramona wields this sledge, even Gundam robots fall to pieces.
It also
be so
gives
hard
her
to
a
actually,
+2
swing it
bonus
around.
against girls.
Oh.
Doesn't sound very impressive.
Sure, it's a tiny number, but in context, all power-ups in Scott Pilgrim's world use small numbers for big changes. So
Yes.
it's actually not half bad.
Well, either way, somehow she
Balls
keeps
plus
all
2.
her weapons in her purse. How the hell do women do that?
Subspace
That's not
suitcase.
just
All
any
right.
girl's boomstick, it's her subspace suitcase. It may seem like an ordinary bag, but it's actually a door to an extra-dimensional hammer space.
Interesting.
This subspace is a series of pocket dimensions available to certain people through extra-dimensional doorways.
Dimension in a bag, got it.
It's more of a doorway, and the dimension it leads to exists inside Ramona's head. She can even control this particular pocket of space with her emotions.
Jesus, what the hell were these writers on?
Heroine. And by that I mean a strong female protagonist.
Oh.
Heyo!
What's
Gotcha.
with you today?
Without Ramona's skills and weaponry, Scott likely would have never succeeded in defeating the evil exes.
Like when she fought Roxy, her ex from her sexy phase. Roxy is strong enough to knock Scott so hard he smashed several steel I-beams, which would need at least 3,000 pounds of force. And Ramona's taking hits and sexing up this superpowered chick, no problem.
She's also got many years of experience under her belt. Even when she was just around 12 years old, she could fight off an entire army of older jocks all at once.
She's strong enough to send people flying dozens of feet through the air with a smack of her hammer. And she's so fast and nimble on her rollerblades, she can keep up with ninjas.
Ah.
Man, this chick's got it all.
Don't get too starry-eyed just yet, though. Ramona has her fair share of problems. For example, the only reason Ramona has so much control over her subspace in the first place is because one of her exes infected her with the glow.
Ah, the glow,
The glow.
Huh? That's a rough one. I've got it too.
What?
Wait, really? You have an energy field which turns your own emotions against you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I have. On a completely unrelated note, Wiz, how long should one's genitals normally, glow in the dark?
That's
Exactly 0
what?
seconds.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing I don't have that problem then. But roller
Yeah.
coasters of emotions aside, Ramona is one hell of an ass-kicking girlfriend any man would be lucky to get with.
I think you need a doctor.
Well, then get him, best get his pretentious ass up here, because I'm about to kick yours out of the Great White North.
All right, I was hoping for a little bit more on
Alright,
her.
The combatants are set. Let's end this
All right,
debate
well,
once and for all.
getting ready to pause.
But first, if you're
Nope,
one
commercial.
of those people who eats food, then I have some great information.
Is this the
for
same
you.
commercial again, guys?
You
It
know how
is.
it is. Researching characters and making
so
them
we
fight
wait.
to the death is time-consuming. I don't have time to go to the store and make my own meals, but I also don't want to doom my existence to fast food sugar addiction. Thankfully,
Got a
Blue
phone.
Apron changed all of that. For less than $10 a meal, Blue Apron sends me seasonal recipes with pre-portioned ingredients to make
That's
delicious
great,
home-cooked
Wiz.
meals.
Very
Each
happy
meal
for
comes
you.
with an easy step-by-step recipe which can be prepared in 40 minutes or less. This chicken stir-fry only took about 20. Check out this week's menu and get
See, I'll
your
just have
first
my microwave
3 meals
burritos
free
and, like,
with free shipping.
microwave
By going to
quesadillas
blueapron.com/battle.
day after day.
See for yourself
I don't
what
need to
feels
switch it up.
and taste to create impeccable
I mean,
home
I'm not gonna lie,
meals with
that stuff
Blue
looks
Apron.
good, minus
That's
all the green stuff. But,
blueapron.com/battle.
you know,
But right
I'm just
now,
also lazy.
It's time for a death battle.
And pause. All right, let's talk about this really quick. So, this death battle, I am still inclined to think that Amy Rose will win this one. Ramona was more powerful than I thought, but I think honestly the biggest thing in Ramona's favor was when her ex-girlfriend hit Scott and like bent the metal whatevers. Like, you know, using the 3,000 pounds of force or whatever. That was honestly the most impressive thing to me. And I just think that Amy has survived and done more. And even though Ramona is fast on her rollerblades and whatnot, I just believe that Amy is faster. You know, if keeping up with Sonic, we know how fast Sonic can go. Now, I'm not gonna say that Amy can go as fast as Sonic, but she's still able to keep up with him, at least at casual pace. But even at his casual pace, it's super fast, and so I think that she can still go faster than Ramona, you know? And, sure, Ramona, from a young age, was able to handle, like, a whole group of jocks on her own, but then Amy is also, you know, like, still at a young age, and she was able to take on, like, half an army of robots or whatever. And the fact that she can throw her hammer, like, friggin' thousands of feet or something, and still hard enough to knock, you know, a ship off of its course, like, that would take quite a blow. And just, you know, and the, like, big robot, all these different things. It seems like as competent, as capable as Ramona might be in her universe, it seems like Amy is just more so. And then you look at the downsides of Ramona too, where I'm not sure exactly how it works, because I don't think they specifically said, but apparently her emotions can work against her. I don't know how, again, but that's the thing. Like, sure, she can pull different weapons out of her purse thing, her subspace suitcase, is that what it was called? And, you know, Amy, we've seen, is, like, really only proficient with her hammer. She can make it appear out of nothing, so if she happened to lose her hammer, she could just get another one. And then her hammer on top of that has, like, the tornado ability, and Amy can go invisible. And, you know, so it just seems to me like Amy, overall, has more going for her. Ramona is more impressive than I had thought, than I had remembered. But, given Amy's, like, all the experience that Amy has had with, I believe it's fair to say, much more, like, threatening people and more versatile people too than Ramona has faced, I'm gonna say that Amy is going to win this death battle. So, all right, ready? And play. Also, I just realized, wasn't the last one also two-dimensional? Like a 2D death battle instead of 3D? I remembered it going like every other one, but 2 in a row. You can do it! Kill her! I'm thinking of Emperor's New Groove again. Smash it with a hammer! Wait, what? Oh, okay. She ducked. What does that mean? Oh. Fair enough. See, that's one of the things where I didn't understand too well, but I guess now we're in her head. You do it, Amy! Beat them all up! I guess it worked, yeah. Wait, did she destroy the suitcase? Oh. Poor Scott. Waiting for the finishing blow now, because I don't think that was the end. I'm gonna say that one was the end. That was the end. Finishing blow. Okay, yeah.
Game over.
Poor
Ramona
Scott.
may have been the smarter and more level-headed of the two, but Amy just had the edge in almost every other category.
Ramona can skate faster than most, but Amy's fast enough to keep up with Sonic. To be clear, she's definitely not as fast as Sonic, but
Okay,
she's
good, yeah, I
certainly
was right.
capable of catching up to him at times. Ramona stood no chance in the speed department, so she had to rely on her skill and strength. And while they both had similar strength feats like defeating giant robots or whacking people a huge distance with their hammers, Amy's feats go several steps beyond anything of Ramona's.
Take Amy throwing her hammer into Eggman's ship in the sky, for instance. Given the height of the ship and Amy's location, it's likely she had to throw her hammer at least 2,100 feet. While her hammer's exact weight is unknown, its head is large enough to be compared to the biggest sledgehammer ever used by man, which was 64 pounds. In order to hit Eggman's ship as hard as she did, she must have thrown her hammer with 2 tons of force at bare minimum. And we're really lowballing that.
And that was just the first throw. The second one made the ship spin over, putting it way higher than 2 tons.
So that's the one
Ramona
that
at her
did
best
it.
could
Okay.
take a hit from Roxy, who can dole out at a max up to 1.5 tons of force.
Whereas Amy survived being crushed by a boulder which, scaled to her height, weighed at least 4 tons.
Ah.
Ramona gained an advantage when she brought the fight to her subspace purse mind.
But when Ramona's ex Gideon was trapped in that subspace, he was able to escape by destroying her bag. As Amy is stronger and faster than Ramona, there's no reason to believe she couldn't do the same. And with Ramona's last trump card out of commission, all Amy had to do was finish her off.
Looks like Amy rose to the occasion.
Amy
winner is
Rose.
Amy Rose.
Alright, claps for Amy, guys. Claps for Amy.
Next time on Death Battle.
Who's it gonna be? The collapse of... Oh, it's Hulk! It's the Hulk! Yeah! Not the incredible one, just,
Hulk is
it's
next.
the average Hulk.
Who's he gonna be fighting? You can find out by sticking to our Instagram this time. That's official.
Usually I hear things like Broly or
Guys haven't heard?
Doomsday
We
or
launched a
stuff
whole
like
new
that.
Channel. It's a totally separate initiative. It's called Game Attack. You should go subscribe. All you gotta do is click the little thing over there.
Yeah, you could,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
If you like video games, you should go there.
Okay. Oh, and that was it. It ends so abruptly now. It used to have at least like a little sign-off kind of thing, but it just ends. Alright, so yeah, let's talk about this death battle. Okay, first the next time. Well, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I know of Hulk, really, like, I've seen 2 of the Hulk movies? Or just one of the Hulk movies? The one with Norton, I remember. And then, of course, like, all the Avengers stuff. So, I've seen him in those movies, but I haven't read any of the comic books or, like, watched any... He had cartoons, I'm sure, so I didn't watch those. So, you know, I only know as much as they, like, have shown. But then, like I said, I've heard a lot of, or 2 of the opponents that I hear the most for him are Broly and Doomsday, and I also don't know a ton about those, because, you know, again, don't really read comics, and, like, the closest I have is Batman v Superman, and I've heard that's a terrible iteration or interpretation of Doomsday, so I don't know, and then I haven't watched Dragon Ball Z, so I can't really say anything about the next time, or the possible next time, so that's all I have to say there. Let's move on from that. This death battle, as far as the animation goes, it didn't impress me that much. It was one of those where, again, I'm content with it because I was entertained enough, but it wasn't a standout animation or standout battle, in my opinion. And, of course, if you guys liked it, if it's your favorite, awesome, but for me, it wasn't the best. I found their interpretation of the tornado kind of weird, because like it was in between the game's interpretation of the tornado, like where her tornado comes from, because in that game it's really not that great, and then like so mixed between that and then a real tornado, because it wasn't as powerful as a real tornado would have been, but I liked how it worked out in the battle, you know, how they had everything smacking Ramona and everything. It's just kind of weird how they kind of pulled from real sources and the game source, and maybe there is a game source or a comic source where she can do that, where it is more powerful, but in the game, I'm thinking Sonic Heroes, it didn't seem that powerful to me. So that's just a small thing where, like, you know, you have to remember too that the animation doesn't determine the victor. It's all the analysis that goes into place, you know, beforehand. Even stuff that they don't mention in the analysis portions, I believe they consider. The animation is just to entertain us. So if it entertained you, then it did its job. If not, hopefully the next one will. I'm glad that I was right in gauging, you know, the feats between Amy and Ramona. I'll admit, I considered experience. I didn't really consider level-headedness. And so, you know, that's, you know, a fault of mine. I didn't really think about the fact Ramona would be more level-headed. And, you know, it's true. I could say that it's true, because Amy is young and not level-headed. But, in the end, yeah, that didn't matter because of the differences in strength and speed, and just kind of versatility, because while Ramona did have access to different weapons, and she did have her subspace suitcase where they could fight in her mind, you know, which was like home terrain kind of thing, she would have the home field advantage. Still, Amy just kind of had more, or she could do more with what she had given her other abilities. So I do agree with the outcome, and I agree with the reasoning for the outcome. You know, of course, I wasn't aware that her suitcase could be destroyed, but, you know, it makes sense that it could be, especially if they have it as a canon thing in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have a ton else to say. Like I said before, I did find it interesting how this was another 2D animated death battle, because if I'm remembering correctly, which I'm pretty sure I am, Ken vs. Terry was the last one, and that was also 2D, and I just remember them usually going 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D, 2D, 3D. But, with that, I was gonna say I have to assume the next one would be 3D. But I don't know if the Hulk has a ton of good 3D models. Yeah, honestly, I can't think of a ton else to say about this episode. Like, I didn't know these 2 characters too well. The analysis, like the analyses portions, like they were fine for me. You know, I was happy to learn more about the characters, and there were some fun jokes here and there. But it was nothing outstanding. The battle itself was nothing outstanding for me. It was entertaining enough, but also not my favorite. And then the next time, I really don't have a big connection to either. Like, I like, you know, Hulk well enough, because, you know, I enjoy Marvel and the Avengers and that sort of scene. I don't know who he's going up against, obviously enough, because they didn't announce it yet, or at least not by the time I'm watching this, you know, like right when the Death Battle was released. And I don't know Doomsday or Broly, if those are the people, so there's just not a ton to say. And, you know, I was right, and I was right in how I was right, you know, like I gave the right reasoning, so I don't know. I guess at this point, just let me know what you guys thought about this in the comment section below, whether you liked it, whether you disliked it, what you thought about this or that, etc., so on and so forth. Please do not start flame wars. Please do not badger other people for having different opinions. Discussion is fine, argument in its purest form is fine, but you know, like, this is the internet where things are bad, but they really shouldn't be. So let's maybe try to take those steps to make it not so bad. Let's try to not be terrible human beings, right? Alright, anyway, with that, we're calling it here. Cue outro, go!